At a holiday dinner, my brother's kids left. Once she's gone, we're getting a mansion, my brother smirked. She's too dumb to change the will now. I played along, smiling sweetly. After my final will was read, their smiles dropped, and my favorite charity became very rich. I never thought I'd be writing one of these stories, but here we are. This is long, but trust me, it's worth it.
I, a 67-year-old woman, have spent my entire life being the responsible one.
My parents were working-class folks in Chicago, scraping by to give my brother and me a good life. My younger brother, Mike, 65, was the charming one, and by that, I mean he learned early on that if he smiled and played the helpless baby brother, people would clean up his messes for him. Me? I worked my ass off. I got scholarships, worked 2 jobs through college, and built a career. I never married, never had kids by choice. Instead, I worked, traveled, and lived exactly how I wanted. Mike, on the other hand, did none of those things. He dropped out of college, bounced from job to job, and eventually married Susan, a woman just as entitled as he was. They had 2 kids, Tyler and Anna, who were raised believing they were the center of the universe. While I was saving and investing, Mike and Susan were racking up debt and living beyond their means. Despite all this, I still love them. I helped pay for my niece and nephew's schooling, covered unexpected expenses when Mike and Susan had emergencies, which were usually vacations they couldn't afford, and even let them move into one of my properties when they lost their house due to bad financial decisions. I should have seen what was coming. The holiday dinner that changed everything. Every year, I hosted Christmas dinner. It was my way of keeping some sense of family, even though I knew Mike and his family saw me as a walking ATM. This past Christmas, things were different. Dinner was winding down, and I went to the kitchen to grab dessert. That's when I heard laughing from the dining room. I froze when I heard Tyler, my 35-year-old nephew, say, "Once she's gone, we're getting a mansion." Then I heard my brother chuckle, "She's too dumb to change the will now." Susan chimed in, "She's old, the will is probably decades old. We'll finally be set once she kicks it." I stood there, gripping the counter, my stomach turned. They weren't joking, they genuinely believed that everything I owned, my house, my money, my investments, would be theirs once I was gone. They hadn't even bothered to hide their excitement. The sweetest revenge takes time. What they didn't know was that I had changed my will years ago, and they weren't in it. I walked back into the dining room, smiling as if I hadn't heard a thing. I poured some wine, laughed at their jokes, and played along. I knew what I had to do. Step 1. Health problems. A few weeks later, I started casually mentioning health problems, little things like doctor's visits, back pain, feeling tired. I dropped just enough hints for Mike and his family to start thinking the end was near. Sure enough, the phone calls started coming in more often, with fake concern. Tyler suddenly wanted to check in on me, and I wanted to know if I needed help with anything. They weren't subtle. I fed the lie. I started getting my affairs in order publicly. I made a show of updating my will and even had a fake meeting with my lawyer, making sure my brother saw the documents. He looked like he was about to start drooling. Step 2. The final blow. The war reading. Fast forward a few months, I hosted another dinner. This time, I made a big deal out of calling in my lawyer to read my final will, just in case anything happened. They all gathered, barely hiding their excitement. The lawyer began reading. I left everything, my house, my savings, my stocks, even my car, to a charity that helps single mothers get back on their feet. I left exactly $100 to each of them. Silence. Then Mike turned red. Susan looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. Tyler and Anna were staring at each other, waiting for someone to say it was a joke. I sipped my wine, enjoying every second. "This is a mistake," Mike sputtered. "Tell him this is a mistake." "Oh no," I said sweetly, "it's all correct. You said it yourself, I was too dumb to change the will, but I guess I wasn't. I thought I was done with them, I thought they'd take their pathetic $100 and disappear from my life forever. I was wrong." The unexpected visit. About a month after the will reading, I was enjoying a peaceful morning at my lake house in Wisconsin, sipping coffee and watching the sun rise over the water. I bought the place years ago as my personal escape, far from the city, far from people like my brother. I had just taken a bite of toast when I heard the sound of tires crunching on my driveway. My heart sank. I knew that car, Mike's. I sighed, sat down my cup, and braced myself. The doorbell rang, long and insistent, angry. I didn't rush, I let him stew for a full minute before opening the door. And there he was, Mike, face red, eyes wild, rage boiling off of him. Behind him stood Tyler and Anna, both looking equally furious. "I'm calling the cops," I said flatly. "No, you're not," Mike snapped, shoving his foot in the door before I could close it. "We need to talk." "We have nothing to talk about," I replied. "Like hell we don't," Mike retorted. "They're pathetic demands." I let them in, mostly because I didn't want to deal with a scene in my driveway. Mike pushed past me, stomping into my living room like he owned the place. Tyler and Anna followed, arms crossed, glaring at me like I was the villain in all this. "We want our share," Mike said, his voice tight. I laughed out loud. That set him off. "You think this is funny?" he snapped. "Yes," I said, still chuckling. "We were family," Susan hissed. I hadn't even noticed her lurking in the hallway. "You betrayed us," she added. "No," I said coolly. "I just finally stopped letting you leech off me." That's when Anna stepped forward, and what she said sent a cold chill through me. "We talked to a lawyer," she said, her voice dripping with smugness, "and we have a case." "The legal threat." I rolled my eyes. "No, you don't," I said calmly. "Actually, we might," Tyler cut in. He pulled out a folder and dropped it onto my coffee table. I didn't touch it. What is this? I asked. Proof that you were coerced into changing your will, Mike sneered. I stared at him, then at the folder. They weren't just pathetic, they were desperate. Let me get this straight, I said slowly. You think you can sue me and prove I was forced into giving everything to charity? Tyler smirked. Maybe, maybe not, but legal fees are expensive, aren't they? A long, ugly case could be unpleasant. I felt a slow burn in my chest. They were trying to extort me, a trap in the making. I leaned back, pretending to think. So, what do you want? I asked. Mike sat forward, his face practically glowing with greed. A fair split, a settlement. We'll drop everything if you give us. Let's say $5 million. I nearly choked on my own laughter. You think I'm just going to hand over $5 million? It's that or we drag you through court, Susan hissed. I stared at them, my mind racing. They thought they had me, they had no idea I was already 3 steps ahead. The secret agreement. I let out a long sigh. Fine, I said. The room went dead silent. Mike's eyes widened. Fine? Anna repeated, suspicious. I nodded. I'll need a few days to move things around. Meet me here Friday, we'll sign an agreement. They bought it, they actually bought it. Smug as hell, they walked out of my house like they had already won. But here's the thing, I don't lose. The revenge they never saw coming. The second they left, I went to work. I made one call to a friend who was a real lawyer. He helped me draft a different kind of agreement, one that would put them in a legal chokehold if they signed it. Then I made another call to a private investigator. I had a hunch, a nasty little suspicion, and I was right. By the time Friday came, I had enough ammunition to bury them, and I couldn't wait to see their faces. The trap closes. They arrived on time, dressed like they were walking into a business meeting. Mike was practically salivating, no doubt picturing his new mansion. I had the agreement ready, they didn't read it carefully, they just saw the big, bold number, $5 million. They signed immediately, and the second the ink dried, I set my final move into motion. By the way, I said, pulling out my own folder, you might want to look at this. Confused, Mike grabbed it, and then his face turned white. The final twist. Inside was proof of fraud, bank statements showing they were deep in debt, records of Tyler and Anna applying for massive loans using my estate as future collateral, emails from Anna to a shady real estate agent discussing selling my house before I was even dead, and the kicker, a recording from my private investigator, a secret video of. You can click on share and more to see if there is a part 2.